I had just gotten home from driving home from work and was preparing to do a video to introduce my coaching firm, and I flipped on my phone to see yet another shooting in Tulsa, Oklahoma at a medical building. And I am a healthcare professional, and I saw my screen, 4 more people, and a preliminary news report that said it is catastrophic and shocking. And you can see this is unscripted, and I am so frustrated because I am a mental health advocate. And I don't even know what to say. I was going to advertise my business, and it seems arbitrary all of a sudden, but a free piece of advice. Ideation. I have talked about this, and I know nothing. I just found out about this 4 more lives like 20 minutes ago, and I have tried to talk freely about repercussions, and I wanted to emphasize ideation. I made an hour video that has 4 views about ideation in light of these mass shootings, and I'm going to post this, I feel, depending on how passionate I get, with relentless consistency, because this violence is hitting our world with relentless consistency, and we can't even process people making customized coffins with Superman and LOL dolls and princesses. To hear another 4 people that we know nothing about yet, which we will, and we will inevitably hear more about the shooter, who I feel confidently will have suffered, statistically speaking, that is sound from ideation. And I feel confident in finding out that it will most likely be because he was alone and excluded, whether by choice or by other people or being shunned by friends. This pattern is indicative of these people, these damaged people. And I am so frustrated that there is deflection, and I'm actually at a loss for words, because people are afraid to respond to me and to make comments or to even like these posts. And I know it won't always be like this. To find an audience who is open and unafraid to the irony being that I am founding a coaching firm as an addict, an accountable addict who is clarifying, not devoid of fear, not devoid of shame and apprehension, but driven by something bigger than me to help people. And I will give you an example of what I want to do with personalized and relatable context coaching. I recently applied for a job in an emergency room department in Spokane because I can help people there. And because I have said in a previous video that the statistical trajectory of our mental health crisis in ER triage bays where I have sat and worked and seen repercussions is indicative of this crisis, this mental health crisis that is projected to get worse. And that includes homicidal shooters who kill people like the 31, 32, 33, 34, 35 now in 3 separate shootings in 3 weeks' time. The sole root being ideation that breeds in exclusivity, whether intentional or not. And this is aligning with the theme of accountability that I'm trying to share with the world in segregated instances that is continually being inadvertently deflected and defensive and denied because I am not finding an open audience. And if anything, you can read my passion, and not my anger, but my passion, because this is what I'm supposed to do. There are things that you can do. If you feel anger about 4 more lives being lost, there are things you can do. And I'll give you a hint. I will just condense the whole premise of the TEDx talk that I'm writing into very short, because I'm 6 minutes in. I'm not going to rant, because if you see that this video is an hour or 30 minutes, you're not going to bother to watch it. The 12 steps of accountability is something that has been around for ages and ages and ages, that people like me who suffer physiological degradation due to a mental brain disorder, a physiological brain disorder that is well studied, well documented, well researched, and there's a plethora of knowledge at our fingertips that can document this degradation. The 12 steps that people do, people like me, every day, every week, every month, every year, for decades, you can do. Family, friends, loved ones, starting with the very first fundamental principle of realizing that people with mental health disorders, whether it's addiction, substance abuse disorder, eating disorders, or people who suffer from ideation, like these shooters, like the statistical documentation of shooters throughout the world. And I have just read on my screen, there is a brand new Twitter announcement that flashed across my screen. The CNN, that more people are dead. That's shocked me to my core. That's fueling my passion. The first step of accountability is to realize that these people cannot handle the emotions. They are emotionally dysregulated. They don't have the capacity to adhere to emotional regulation. That is why they divert to defective coping mechanisms in addiction and substance abuse and eating disorders, which is merely the symptom of the root of the damage. And the same goes with ideation with these shooters. Rule number 1, the first step of accountability: they cannot be left alone. They cannot be rejected. They cannot be left alone through abandonment as a means of reform, as a means of shock value, and as a means to change their behavior. Nothing good will come out of that. I'm passionate because of this ideation, because of 4 more dead people that flashed across my screen just now. If society and family and people at large accepted the fact that people who suffer from ideation, who choose exclusivity, to be on them, to realize that there are always warning signs. And who knows what will become of this next shooting that killed 4 people, and the warning signs that we will see and research in hindsight. Hold yourselves accountable if you have a loved one who suffers from addiction, substance abuse disorder, eating disorders, mental health, exclusivity through ideation. Hold yourselves accountable to realize that they can't cope on their own. And then I don't have the 12 steps memorized because this is impromptu, in verbatim, and me and my passion and in my purest form. If you follow the other 12 steps of accountability, and my talk is in its infancy, but this is the premise of my talk that I'm giving to you in my passion, unscripted. Google the 12 steps of accountability and follow each and every one of them with an open heart and an open mind, and especially an open soul. Because People who suffer in this capacity, these shooters, they all have damaged minds, whether physiologically or psychologically. Damaged minds, damaged hearts, and damaged souls. Because nobody who has these elements of their body intact could kill other people. And there are warning signs. And people do cry out for help inadvertently and deliberately. And I have no doubt that there will be signs that will be discovered. Move along the 12 steps, and I think 4 comes to my mind right now. Doing an inventory. As addicts, me being an addict and having achieved all 12 steps successfully and having triumphed in them. Step 4 is making a list of, all the things, all the shortcomings, and all your deficiencies, which is very hard to do. And may I emphasize that we do these steps. People who suffer in my capacity do these steps with brain damage, with literally brain damage, physiological degradation, and damaged hearts and damaged souls. And I'm telling you now, and I'm looking into the camera in my passion with these more deaths on our shoulders, that if you have an intact mind and a whole heart, and you have souls that are intact, your chances of helping your loved one increases exponentially. The statistics prove that people know someone in their life who has suffered from a mental health trauma in all of these capacities. It is prevalent, and I know this. This is why I am so passionate, and that's why you keep hearing from me, because I'm hoping to reach someone in my limited capacity, in my naivete to social media and exposure, being the late millennial that I am, and having my sons be able to TikTok anime videos and get 250,000 likes with nonsense and frivolity. That is my frustration. If you go down the 12 steps, you will see it gets more detailed and more integrated, because when you go down the list, there is a step that holds us to daily accountability and daily reflection. If you have a loved one who suffers in these grand capacities and you hold yourself to daily accountability, what did I say that seemed to have pushed them away? And what did I say that seemed to have drawn them near? And if you hold yourself accountable to daily reflection, your chances increase even more. And you go down the list, and I don't want to make a long video of long-winded narrative, which I do in my passion. The last step, when we go through all of these 12 steps that I can't name numerically right now because I'm heightened by my emotions. The last one I do know, because that's what I'm implementing right now, is once you have learned accountability and have found freedom in it, that you share your message with others and you pay it forward in grander and larger capacities, which is what I am trying to do. I'm adhering to the 12th and final step that pays it forward. And if you have a loved one who suffers, that you know is alone, that you know is suffering, and that you know is not talking in these days, in these ages, that are indicative of ideation, whether homicidal, and ideation, whether suicidal, and warning signs. You need to hold yourselves accountable right now. It could slip through your fingers again. There are always the what if questions, and I promise you there will be more what if questions upon further preliminary research of this latest shooting in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You will find them, and I want you to find them before the media does, in bitterness and regret. I'm going to stop here because I don't want to ramble. I don't want to get nonsensical, and I don't want to be overbearing. But I am passionate, and this is my calling, and this is real. I'm frustrated because I saw the death of 4 more people flash across my screen in real time as I was filming this. And 2 minutes before that, I saw the news story of homemade coffins being made. And I do feel it deeply. And I want it to change. And I want people to listen to me. If you know anyone, just like, share, and pass it on. Thanks.